Most people undercharge for their product or services. So in this video, I'm going to show you how you can start selling for 5,000 worth of product and services, even if it just took you a couple of minutes or hours to build and deliver it. I've helped 50 plus startup and founders build product and go from 0 to 12K MRRs. And I've applied this aspect in every single one of their product or services. If you don't know me, my name is Riley Giles. I'm a startup advisor, and I will show you the exact plan in this video. So in this video, we're going to review three things. So part number one, we'll have a look at the cost-based pricing. Then the part two, we'll have a look at the value-based pricing. And then I will apply those two concepts into two different examples, one with burgers and one with automation. So how you can apply cost-based pricing and value-based pricing for selling something like a burger and selling something like automation or AI services. And so the goal is that by the end of this video, you know how to make the mind shift from selling from cost-based to value-based and how to apply it to your service, even if you're selling something like a burger that's physical or selling a service like an AI or automation. So let's go. Okay, so part one, what is cost-based pricing? Okay, so cost-based pricing, that's very simple. It's you take how much it costs you to create the product or service, and then you add your margin and you sell it for that price. So how much it costs you plus your margin, and then you have your price. That's cost-based pricing. So you see this in the everyday life when you're buying those small commodities pricing, whether it's coffee or drinks or these kind of things, they often use a cost-based pricing. So that's the very simple ways of doing it. Now, part two, the value-based pricing. So here, it's a bit different. We don't consider how much it costs us to create the product or service. We have a look at the value we bring to the people. So when people use our product or services, it saves them time, money, resources, and we have a look at that and we say, we're going to take a percentage of that resource that we save you. So let's say, for example, when you use our product or service, you save $1,000 with us. Well, we're going to take a percentage of that $1,000. And the cool thing about this aspect of this technique, and you can see it compared to the cost base, is that if the value is very big, you can take a good amount of money. So for example, if your service is value-based and you sell it to people who are saving $1 million using your service, you're going to take a percentage of that $1 million. As opposed to if you were in cost-based, you wouldn't be able to go really high with that pricing unless it costs you really, really a lot of money to build that product. But the cool thing is that you can create something that costs $25 to make and sell for $100,000 if it's saving that person or that company millions of dollars. So that's where the value-based pricing is really interesting. And when you have a look at all those successful companies, they're leveraging as much as possible that value-based pricing. Look at, for example, the luxury industry. The price of a bag is actually really cheap. Some of those luxury brands are actually selling you plastic bags, but they're selling it to you for thousands of dollars because what you're buying is the value of the brand, not the addition of all those tools and materials that built the bag itself. Okay, so let's take an example with burgers and applying it to those two ways of pricing. So number one, burgers in a cost-based pricing model. So let's say we have Burger King, they're making burgers. And so how would they typically use the cost-based pricing is that they will take how much it cost them to create this burger. We're going to simplify this a little bit by removing everything around the rent and utility and stuff like that. We're just going to keep it to the ingredient. If we have a look at the list of ingredients, we're going to look at what we call the cost of good sales. And so let's say you need a bun, you need meat, you need salad, you need a little bit of sauce. And all of that combined, it's probably going to cost around $1, $2, $3. So let's say it's $2 to assemble and make the burger. Again, we simplify. We don't take into account the marketing and the utility bills and stuff like that. But let's say it's about $2. So what we're going to do is going to say, okay, it costs us $2 to make. We're going to add a decent margin because we want to sell it more than what it cost us. And we're going to sell for, let's say, $5, $6. So it costs us $2 to make. We're selling it for $6. So we pocket $4. That's cost-based pricing. So now if we want to apply the value-based pricing on that same burger, here's what it should look like. So let's say who is going to buy our burger. And this is where having a clear avatar, a clear type of customer is very, very important, because if you don't know who you're selling it to, you cannot measure the value you bring to those people. So for our example, we're going to say we're selling those burgers to CEO of companies. A CEO is typically going to charge his time $1,000 an hour. And so here we're going to think, okay, if that CEO had to make the burger himself, it's probably going to take him 15 minutes. 15 minutes of $1,000 per hour rate is about $250. So if that CEO had to make this burger himself or herself, it would cost him $250. And so here we have the value. We can save that person $250 if they don't have to make the burger. And so the burger still cost us $1 to $3 to make, but this time we're not just going to add margin, we're going to compare it to the bracket of money that we're saving that CEO. So that CEO could have lost $250 to make this burger. So we're going to say we're going to charge it between, let's say, $3 to $250. But then the good thing is that we can get close to $250. We could sell that burger $50, $100, $120, $150, or even $200. Because now it's completely different. We're not selling the sort of addition of ingredients. We're telling the CEO, hey, instead of losing 15 minutes making this burger, you can use those 15 minutes by getting more deal signs, etc., and running your business, and we'll make this burger for you. And then we'll charge you just a percentage of that money and time we just saved you. And you see how that same burger, in one situation, we can make $2, $3, $4 extra dollars. And in the other case, with the value-based pricing, we can make $100. Of course, we're stretching a little bit the goal, but you see my point. So in the second situation, in the value-based pricing, we can charge way more for that same item because we shifted the way we were thinking and positioning it. We were positioning it in the value you bring. Again, as I mentioned in the beginning, this is only possible if you have a clear idea of who you are selling it to and a clear idea of how much value you're bringing when you're building this thing. So now part 3, we're going to have a look at automation and how we can do the same thing with automation service. So let's say now you have an automation service that helps people go from a Calendly to a CRM to a Slack notification. Here's how we can leverage the 2 ways of pricing for this exact same service. So in the cost-based approach, you would say, okay, this automation takes me 2 hours to build and my time is at $50 an hour, so that's $100. Plus, in order to build this automation, I need a Zapier or Make subscription that is about $20 a month. So you have $100 of our time, and then you have $20 of tools, and that's $120 in total to make that service. So what you're going to do, you're going to take the $120, you're going to slap your margin on top of that, and then I would say ideally you want to take at least 25 to 30% because then you have to factor in the taxes and all these kind of things, which will reduce your margin ultimately. So $120, you slap your margin on top of that, and you got something around $150, $200 to $150 for that service. That would be the usual cost-based pricing. But now if we look at the value-based pricing, so now in the value-based pricing, let's say this service is ideal for salespeople who are going a lot into meetings and capturing notes and updating the CRMs. The sales employee is typically paid $60 an hour, let's say $50 an hour. And on average per month, they're spending 10 hours grabbing that information from the meeting and updating the CRM, etc. So they're paid $50 an hour. It takes them 10 hours to update the CRM based on the meetings. That's $500 per month spent on this tool, right? So now you can say with our service, you're going to recoup a good amount of those $500 you're spending every month doing that manual process. And so what we're going to charge you is a percentage of that money, right? And so each salesperson is consuming $500 a month. Let's say you have 10 sales rep, so that's $5,000 a month in manual task, in manual recurring task. And so $5,000 a month, I could charge you a membership, or I could charge you a subscription of $1,000 a month so that your 10 salespeople can use our service and get that automation done. And see here, in the first example, we said 120 plus margin, and we probably charge 150, 200. Now, that same service, because it's saving $5,000 to people, we can charge $1,000, $2,000, and we still a bargain because we saving them $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 a month in manual tasks. So 120 for one service, automation service. If we sell it on cost base, we'll probably sell 150, 200. If we sell it in value based, we can go 500 a month, 1,000 a month, 1,500, eventually $2,000 a month, because it would still be better for them to use that as opposed to doing it manually. And keep in mind, we're just charging it for 1 month, but if we scale it to 12 months, that's times 12. So that thing that you were selling 150 a month is probably going to get to 2,000 a year. Now, if you're selling it for 1,000 a month, that's 12,000 a year. So the amount of money that you make also compounds. And so just to conclude this session, the cost-based pricing is often tied to the time you spend and the resource you spend on a product, as opposed to the value pricing that is now not centered towards yourself, but centered towards your client and your customer you're helping. And this is how you can completely shift the game, because that same product, whether you're selling it to someone who is wasting $1,000 or $1 million, is gonna play a major role in how much you can price it. And so you can sell the same product to someone who can pay 100 or to someone who can pay $1 million, and it will still be the exact product or service. And that's why these kinds of pricing are super, super powerful. And this is why you should try to move from cost-based to value-based. Of course, in order to be able to do that, and this is the key mistake a lot of founders make, is that they don't measure. They don't measure the value that they're bringing to the customer. They're also not selecting the right kind of customer who can pay that amount of money, because again, you want to sell it to the people who can easily spend $1, $2, $3, $4, $5,000 a month instead of $50 a month. And that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know if you have any comments or questions. And again, if you have a particular business problem and you don't know who to talk to, I'll drop a form in the comments so you can write me your question and I'll answer all the questions that I receive. And if you need a little bit of help, you can book a free 30-minute consultation with me. Spots are limited because I cannot do that all week. But until next time, boom.